what is going on here that I feel so safe? And so wait a second, something must be terribly wrong. And day after day after day, I learn through experience unconditional love. And I learned that one of the soul's purposes is that each one, like installed within me at the inception of the soul, is an infinite well, right, of unconditional love. Now listen, when I'm out there and I'm a light being, I'm like, woohoo, right? I'm into it. You put me in a body, you give me a mortgage, a teenager, a dying father, a handful of sisters, a mate. Wait a second here, Bucky. We had problems, right?
Welcome to the Consciousness of the Way. I am your humble servant and Sifu, Taoist Master Sun Qing. And again, it's Christmas morning for me. Once again on the podcast, the universe has brought me an incredible being and an amazing gift and a master of many things, but specifically Akashic Records for consciously in this lifetime, a long time. And I'm so grateful to have her on the podcast. Dr. Linda Howe, how are you today?
Oh, I'm wonderful. I'm wonderful, and I'm so excited to be here with you. It's really good. Thank you.
It really is. And you know, I think that it's so in this moment in time, it's very popular, the Akashic Record, acknowledgement. In essence, there is absolute validation to the access of higher consciousness. And I believe that there are a lot of people that are out there tuning into something. But I would love to hear from the Grandmaster within Taoism, we would call you that, the Grandmaster of the Akashic Records, a little bit more of your insight and how you've witnessed over the years this sort of like revelation or revolution or evolution of this source of information today, and what how you look at the timeline from your introduction to the world of the Akashic Records and where it is now. What are your thoughts on just actually before that, let's give the audience a little backstory about you and how you got here. How about that?
Okay. That's great. Okay, so you could probably tell from my accent. I'm from Chicago. We do not use words like Akashic. Okay, so here's the thing. I was raised in a very traditional Midwestern home. I'm second of 8, with a very, really held together with a traditional religion. Very, straight up great. Was good. And I happened to be, because I'm myself, I was somewhat of a religious fanatic as a child, because I would go to church and I would be like, I don't know what this is, but I knew something greater was occurring. And I thought, well, whatever this is, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Anyway, years passed. I became a teenager. You know what happens. And then, of course, I had to reject everything, which is good. I mean, I'm all on track. I really have come to understand that the first part of my life was about getting into my body and becoming a real person, as whatever that is. But truly, okay, great. So what happens is this. I don't know what they were teaching. I really don't. I know what I learned. And what I learned was that if I was, you're going to love this, if I was a good girl, if I did everything right, I would get to be happy. So this is so I really took it that my life, or all of life, and mine in particular, the lane I was in, was all a management challenge. If I managed well, I would get the prize. Okay. So, being who I am, I set out. I thought, well, all right, this is what we do, right? So, I went to school. I did everything right, correct. Okay. And I did from the outside world very well. And I woke up one day. This is so fabulous. I woke up, I'm 24. I'm laying on my bed. Of course, I'm feeling very sorry for myself because I have a wonderful job that I don't like. I'm in a relationship I don't want to be in. I have wonderful friends, but even in my connections with them, it's not touching this hollow experience. I had a fabulous apartment. I had the car. I had the clothes. I'm from the city. I had shoes. Anyway, but here's the thing. I was like, well, something's terribly wrong. So I said the desperate prayer. Now, this desperate prayer I was praying to a God. I didn't know if there was I didn't know if anyone was driving the bus. Let's face it. I didn't know. I just thought, whatever I'm doing, yeah, clearly I did everything right and I still feel terrible. So I made the prayer, and the prayer was very simple. Help. That was my prayer. It was all I could utter. So within about 6 weeks, I have this moment of awareness. Now, this is very cool. I'm 24. No one around me. Well, my mother would have experiences, but she was really in her own thing. But I have this moment. And in this moment, I am flooded from head to toe with this awareness that I am who I'm supposed to be. There's no accident here. Well, that scared me. Then the next thing is that I am really good enough. Like the way I am. Like this is the way it's supposed to be. I thought, well, this is the nuttiest thing I've ever. And then here was the corker for me. So I felt very known. I felt very appreciated. The other thing is, I felt like life liked me. Not love. I got love. Listen, love. I'm down with love. I love love. Love is good. This is not what we're talking about here. We're talking about, does life enjoy me? Does life really want me here? Does life like Linda? The answer was yes. So I'm in this. It might have been 10, I don't know how long it was. It was not long, but it was long enough to just shock the daylights out of me. And here, like nothing had prepared me for this moment. Absolutely nothing. And I was like, well, whatever this is, I didn't know what it was. I thought, whatever this is, I must have it. I must live with this in my life. So I was 24 and the search was on, right? And I went to every religion. I love them all. They're all good. I don't have any problem with religions. Other than every religion I went to, the women were washing the dishes. They hated gay people. I'm a lesbian. I'm like, this is like, I mean, I was like, I would be in these groups and I would be like, oh, isn't this great? I'm singing Kumbaya. And then it occurs to me, if they find out, I'm going to be thrown out. But anyway, I mean, you understand. This is like, wait a second.
I mean, this is like consciousness right now. I just got to inject this because I just absolutely support you 1000% with everything you're saying, because consciousness right now is so diluted. People run their mouths about consciousness and everyone wants to raise the collective consciousness, but most people within this space, I've never seen more egos in my very existence. Really. And they're very competitive. Yes. And if they feel threatened, which is 99% of them, they're not interested in engaging with you.
Right.
They don't want to be, they want to be known as the Messiah, the next coming of Jesus, however it is.
Right.
They don't want to actually raise the collective consciousness, which is the very directive that you and I are bound by. And that doesn't come with the identification of a place, person, or thing.
No.
And I just wanted to inject that because you just resonated so deep with me.
Oh,
I absolutely love it because
yes.
I love going to places of worship. I love it. I love going to, I'll just randomly pop into a church, a temple, an ashram, wherever they'll let me in. The only place
Wherever they let me in. This is the question.
the only place I've never been able to get into is a Jehovah Witness temple.
Well, okay. You know,
and I've
all right.
always asked, and they're just like,
no thanks.
You're not 144,000, my friend.
That's right. That's very funny. Anyway, so, but here's the thing for me. I had no idea what this was. I really didn't know what that experience was. Now, I know we are in the age of everyone's having these moments of awakening, but I was like, I have to tell you, everyone I talked to, they were like, yes, dear. I mean, no one knew what I was talking about, right? Okay. So I go everywhere. I go to every religion. I took every self-help. Now, this was in the days, I mean, I did everything and I loved it. I did I did them all, whatever they were. I did them and they were all fun. They were all good. I went to therapies. I did rebirthing. I did everything. Was it all good? Yes. I was unable to recreate or to duplicate the experience I had at 24. Okay. And then, listen, I'm a creative person. I'm like, all right, listen, what happened that day? Well, that day I got up and I ironed. And I mean, I did some very ordinary things. So I start lining things up, right? Like if I do this, this, and this, then, right? Because I'm looking for the equation. I'm looking for a way to get to that place deliberately because I knew I had been there before. There's a familiarity in this that I have no words for, but I was like, I know this place. When people say, oh, and I was home, I was like, okay, that's true. I was home, but how do I get back? I felt like Dorothy on The Wizard of Oz. How do I get back? So here's what goes down. This is so funny. So I lived my life from 24 to 40. Now that's a long haul. You and I both know it. I was like, and I'm mad at this point because I'm like, listen, God, or who's ever even listening at this point, I'm sure no one's listening. I'm like, you give me the gift of the lifetime. And what, it's a one-off? Or it's random. See, I would have these moments prior to that and after that. I would have these moments of being overcome with insight and guidance and wisdom that certainly was greater than my own. Now, I'm a reasonably bright person, but I was like, wait a second here. This took my common sense and just flipped it on its ear. Right. Anyway, that's another story. But so here's what goes down. This is so fabulous. So along the way, I do everything. I learned tarot cards. I'm doing everything, right? I did classic core shamanism, which I loved. But I'm standing there one day. I don't know why I'm telling you this. This is so fabulous, though. I'm standing there one day, and I'm leading this group. I have no shoes on, which is a big deal for me. And anyway, I'm doing the rattles. I'm calling in the spirits, whatever the heck I'm doing my thing. And it occurs to me that I am not calling to the north, the south, the east, and the west, that I am calling to a God force, to something that I am calling to this context for these directions. And I want you to know, I knew in that moment I had to, that it was over. I had like gone through the tunnel on this, right? And I was coming out the other side. And then what's really, this is fabulous, is that it occurs to me that if it's true, there is a presence greater than I am within me and beyond me simultaneously. It's all true. There has to be a way to make this connection that's easier than dragging all this. I mean, I had the rug, I had the drums, I had the. Did I love it? Yes. It's too much stuff for me. Okay. And you get it. I like stuff. I don't like it that much. Anyway. So, okay. So then I make the prayer. And here's my prayer. I'm like, again, God, if you're even there, whoever the heck I'm talking to, right? You're going to have to show me this because I can't, whatever it is, I can't get there myself, obviously. I have got like, whatever, 16 years under my belt of great exploration, tons of fun, all kinds of things, but it's not it. So what happens is I'm on a panel talking about shamanism because that's what I was talking about at the time. Anyway, and this woman comes in. I have to tell you, she's very exotic. She's all in robes. She was so esoteric and holy. I thought, well, she's a nice person, but that's the way that goes. Do you know? And she said the word, here's what she said. I don't know what she said. She said the words Akashic Records. It was like something inside of me went, wow, right? Like I have no, and I thought, whoever she is, whatever she's doing, I didn't care. I didn't care. I knew I would never have coffee with her. I knew we were never going to be friends. You understand? We were never going to go to the kumbaya session together. None of this was going to happen. But I knew that she was hanging on to the hem of the garment. You had this too. Oh, we see a thumb go up.
I have no idea. Some type of AI thing or something.
That's very cool. It's very cool. But do you know what? So I go to her. So she's having a class on how to connect, how to access the Akashic record. But here's the thing. It's very holy. It's only for special people. Hana, hana, hana. But here's the thing. It was very simple. It was in the sacred prayer tradition. Mm-hmm. So I get this prayer and I follow directions because I don't even know what I'm doing at this class. You understand? I'm like, and who are these people? These are some real weirdos. This is 1994. It's the era of 100,000 weirdos. Okay. Because we were all coming out of the occult bookstores and we didn't know where to go. So here I am in this woman's living room. Right. You get it. And it was so funny. So I'm in this and I follow the directions and my records open is what we would say. They like popped open. Of course, I followed the directions. And I sat there and I had an experience that was so similar to the one I had when I was 24. I had that sense of being completely known, like life had a spotlight on me or something. Completely known, completely loved, accepted, appreciated, and enjoyed. And that I really belong here. I want you to know I was freaked out, as we would say then and now. So it was a very interesting time. So from 94 to 2001 or 2000, I worked in this particular way, right, in this sacred prayer tradition. It was terrific. It was so good for me. There were many things that made no sense to me, like zippity doo dah, because see, I get guidance. And the guidance I'm getting is, you'll love this. Share this with anyone who wants it. Because see, people would come to me And I would read I read the records. I'm like, great, you ask, I'll do it. No problem. We do this, right? But they're coming back frequently. And here's the thing. It occurs to me, how come I can read your records? This makes no sense. This is your soul. This is your truth. It's not mine. Now, I understand in the course of the journey, there are times when I've needed help. I get help. I'm like, I'm down. I'm like, otherwise, I'd be alone on the planet. This makes good sense to me. There's a whole bunch of us here for a good reason, because none of us, this is a we experience. So anyway, I just lost myself. But, it just, I don't even, okay. So I spend this time and I really explore. Oh, and the guidance I'm getting is, this is not a secret society. This is for everyone. I'm like, what? So then I start doing my, I look back, whatever. I look into people like Edgar Casey. Now listen, I've been to every church, I've been to every witch doctor, this side of the Mississippi and that side of the Mississippi. I've been to them all globally. But here was the thing. Do you know what? I keep getting lost. I keep like going so far. I've got to it's like, well, wait a second here. Let's get back. Here was the deal. I start getting guidance almost from day one. Mm-hmm. The first guidance was, the opening prayer that I use. I got this prayer and I thought, isn't that sweet? Isn't that nice? So I write it down because that's what I do. I write it down. And the guidance I get is, say this as your own part of your own personal preparation before you work in someone's records. I was like, all right, no problem. So what happens is, over time, it wasn't long. It was 6 years. Conflict. Let's just call it conflict of personalities, conflict of purpose, life purpose, soul purpose. My purpose is to make the Akashic record available to anyone who wants to learn. Okay? It's very different from we're keeping this a secret because we're special. And I'm going to read your records because, well, actually, I'm better than you.
Special wizard.
Right. I'm the wizard and you're not. And, we go on from there. Anyway, it's like, oh, please. So what happens is, it just was like, well, wait a second. This is not what, anyway, you understand this. So the day comes and I get the certified letter in the mail that says, if you want to do this, you have to do it this way. Okay, you have to, instead of doing it in one weekend, you have to do it in 2. And instead of doing this, you have to do that. I said, wait a second. So I get on the horn and I call the Grand Poobah, who I love dearly, Mary Parker, right? The lady from Texas. I call Mary in Texas and I say, what's up, Mary? What is this make? Because see, at this point, our son is like 4. Very creative, wonderful person. That's code for he was really something else. So I am not a person, I don't have 2 weekends to devote to people sitting around staring, trying to grab the ethers or whatever they're doing. I say to Mary, why do I have to do this in 2 weekends when I can do it in 1? Makes no sense.
Sorry,
no, you understand this.
I'm laughing with you.
I know you're right there because you've had these experiences.
Oh my goodness!
Because see, this is the truth of the path. So anyway, at this point, I go out, I buy a navy blue suit because I figure I'm going to have to get a corporate job. The only problem is, really, who's going to hire me? What am I going to do? I don't even know. It was terrible. So anyway, the suit's in the closet. I get thrown out of the group. which is devastating because, part of me, all I want is to belong. Belonging is really big to me. And I don't get to, and they've kicked me out of the club. Okay. So after a year of wailing and gnashing my teeth, crying, I'm in my records. Mary said to me, you can use your records for personal use, but you can't teach them. I'm like, well, all right. But here was the thing. The issue was the prayer. We were using this prayer that was very, it was a nice prayer. I mean, as prayers go, but it was non-emotional. It was remote. And so the people would come to me after a class and they would be weeping because their reader never looked at them. The reader is like looking at something in the universe. I'm like, no. This is about one soul connecting with another. This is not about the records. This is about the person. This is about a human being with a deep need to make a more conscious connection because we're always connected. I mean, listen, I've looked for the unhook button many times. Impossible. It is an energetic impossibility to detach from my soul or the God force. And trust me, I've tried. Okay.
Once you turn it on, the old expression, be careful what you wish for.
How about it? Because there it is. But see, the difference, so where my work lives is in the area of awareness. Because everything is already so. So people come to, well, it's so funny. People come and they say, I want to be able to make more light. I'm like, you really want to think about that, Bucky. No, you don't. What you want to do is throw out the garbage. But throwing out the garbage, my experience, is that it's really hard. So what happens is the Akashic Record. Okay, so in 2001, after much carrying on, trust me, crying at the kitchen table, you know the story. But this is real. This is my life. I mean, I never meant this. I kept trying to get regular jobs. They don't exist for me. You understand? It's like, what? Anyway, so I get this one Saturday morning. It was a Saturday before 9/11, 2001. And I'm at my kitchen table crying and carrying on, right? And I get this, write this down. And I know this, when it comes that way, one thing I've learned is I always take it seriously. I don't take myself very seriously because I am really ridiculous. But I'll tell you, there is a presence. When that presence like envelops me, I'm like, ooh, I better pay attention here. So I write this down. And here's what the message is. The message is, this is a new prayer.
Grand Poupard, please note this. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. It was like, this is a new prayer to connect you with the heart of the Akashic Record. Because the problem is, prior to this, the mind is wonderful. I love the mind. The mind can only take us so far. There is no way the mind can generate a spiritual experience. Only a spiritual consciousness can make that connection. I was like, okay. So anyway, so I get this prayer. I write it down. I call all my students, wherever the heck I am. I was in Chicago at the time. I said, hey, listen, we're going to have this thing. So we have this group. Everybody who shows up, I teach them this prayer. I'm like, here's our new prayer. And this will take you into the heart of the records. I want you to go out and read 100 people and let me know how it goes. Because that's what I was doing. Because I thought, if it's good, good. But it could be hooey, Well, lo and behold, it's like, it's a deeper key, because what happens is it goes into the heart of the records. It's my heart in a conscious fusion with the heart of the records. It's my heart and the heart of the records and the heart of life, which is only one lane, you know. It's heart, it's mind, it's will. I mean, there's a lot going on out there. But see, as a human being, it's through the emotions, the emotions. So anyway, it's fascinating. So that's 2001. I was like, oh, wow. Anyway, and everything takes off. So from there, I'm teaching people like crazy, as we say. And I realized I can't keep up. Linda cannot keep up. I've got more, whatever, more people than time or whatever. And I know. So anyway, so I sit down and I write the book. The first book. And the book, How to Read the Akashic Records, is very simple. It's the method. Okay. Now, here was the problem. You will love this. So I write this book, and I have a friend who says, oh, I have a connection over at, at Hay House, big publisher. Let's submit it. So I submit the book. Of course, they rejected it. I was like, but I was so crushed. I told the same power that I'm like having these conversations with probably every 5 or 6 years, whether I want to or not. I have this conversation. I say, listen, I've got this book. If you want it published, somebody's going to have to call me. So you know what happened. Almost 2 years later. So this manuscript sits in my desk. I just go about my business, teaching, doing my thing. And I get a call one day from somebody who says they're from Sounds True. Now, I'm thinking this is a friend of mine pulling my leg. It's got to be. I mean, what do you mean this sounds true? It was Sounds True. And they said, we heard you know how to do the Akashic Records. I said, yeah, of course. I mean, that's so, whatever. So the next thing I know, I am recording How to Read the Akashic Records in Boulder. Okay. It was a great experience. These are very nice people. And in the middle of it, Tammy Simon, who is the owner of Sounds True, comes to me and says, I think you might be the real deal. I'm like, okay, thank you. I mean, what do I don't know. I mean, I want to be, that's what I'm going for. Am I? I don't know. Am I for her? Who knows? We don't know. But what I do know is this. She says to me, do you have a book? I said, yeah, of course I have a book. It's in the drawer. She says, well, send it over. So I emailed the book over and she says she'll publish it. A year later, the book is out. That was 2009. I want you to know, this is so funny. At this point in time, though, I'm sitting there with my team. I have the best. I love my people. I got a couple of people. We've been together on the road for a long time. And here was the big question. Nobody knows what the Akashic Record is. How do we talk about this? At that time, if you went to Amazon, 2009, there was one other book, a book by, do you know this guy, Edward Chaney? Chaney was very interesting. He was the head of Astara in California. And he had this idea, brilliant idea, actually. And the idea was that the Akashic Record was like a cosmic internet. Do you know he was right? But it was the most boring book I ever read. I was like, Ed, give it up. This is terrible. So anyway, but I got the idea. But there was his book and there was mine. The hate mail I got from people. How dare you share this big secret? Just whatever. Okay. That book, whatever year it is, it's 2024. The book is still selling. Since that time, so I feel like, oh, great, I got the method. I'm done. Then I go back to my life such that it is. My son is like, I don't know what he is, but, he's now a teenager, God help us. And And my father is dying, right? I'm second of 8. I have 5 sisters, right? 5 sisters, lots of karma is what we say there. But here's the thing. I have spiritual principles because I'm spiritual. I cannot live up to any of them. Right? My father's dying and my mother's falling apart and my sisters, some are there all the time, some won't show up. In my mind, I'm like, well, if everyone would just do what I wanted, it would all be fine. I would be serene. Well, lo and behold, this isn't how it goes down. So every day I've got my values, I've got my spiritual principles, I've got my everything. I go and I do whatever I do with my dad. Before the day is out, I'm screaming and yelling. I'm crying. I'm like a lunatic. I'm heartbroken and I realize I can't live up to my principles. I want you to know how devastating that was for me. Because see, I thought, oh, I've got the key, right? I got the prayer, hot dog. I should be done. Doesn't work that way. So which led me into the next book, which is Healing Through the Akashic Records. Here's a trip about that. This is so funny. Every day I go, I've got my ideals, my principles. Today's the day I'm going to live up to them. And I get out there and I just crumble. And so then I come home and I go in my records and I'm like, by this time, I'm mad as sin and I'm swearing my head off. And I get this, it's all right. I'm like, you don't understand. I'm like, they're like, no. You don't understand. Blew my mind. So in this was 2010 now. I am being 6 months into this. You know how people say, I got this idea, I wrote a book. I'm like, that isn't how it goes for me. The way it has gone for me is I get this idea. I don't know what it means. Makes no sense to me. Why are they being so nice to me? These are my questions. What is going on here that I feel so safe? And so wait a second, something must be terribly wrong. And day after day after day, I learn through experience unconditional love. And I learned that one of the soul's purposes is that each one, like installed within me at the inception of the soul, is an infinite well, right, of unconditional love. Now listen, when I'm out there and I'm a light being, I'm like, woohoo, right? I'm into it. You put me in a body, you give me a mortgage, a teenager, a dying father, a handful of sisters, a mate. Wait a second here, Bucky. We had problems, right? So that was the second book. The sacred wounds are the portal to transformation. So now I'm sure I'm done because I'm so transformed. I'm healed. But I am, right? Woohoo. Okay, here comes the next problem. So I go out into the world. I'm in the neighborhood. I'm doing my thing with my son. I'm doing whatever I'm doing. I'm doing my life. And what occurs to me is everywhere. See, I'm too sensitive now. And everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, God, your negativity on the blah, blah, blah. I can't write. I'm like useless. I have become everything I never wanted to be. Self-pitying, useless. I mean, it's gross. It's like, I'm like a baby because I am so spiritual now, right? So the question becomes, how do any of us, how do I maintain this state of spiritual awareness while at the same time as I'm engaging in the world the way it is? Well, all right, game on. So that's the third book. whatever the name of that, to move from ordinary, I don't even know, from ordinary to extraordinary life. Okay. It's fabulous. It's a fabulous piece. Okay, great. So I move along there. Then the next thing you know, whatever. I mean, but along the way, I get a doctorate in spiritual studies in the Akashic Records. But I make up the course because that's how I do things. Of course. Anyway, so that's cool. So now I'm a doctor. It goes on and on. But here is the thing. Along the way, I wake up and I realize so many of my students are now writing books. Their books are my books. You understand this? Like they've taken my books and they like copy. I'm like, it's all right. I mean, if they can help anybody, God love them. But it's not, I don't know what to say about it. But I go to Amazon one day and I noticed the books on the Akashic Records. I mean, there's like a gazillion of them. I'm like, where were these? And everybody says, here's the great thing. This is so funny. Everyone says, I've been doing this for 20 years, 30 years. No, you weren't. You were in marketing. I knew these people when they were marketing geniuses. So now everybody's on the gravy train. And it's like, here's the thing. This isn't the path to being a millionaire. I think that has something. I think you have to go to Wall Street. I don't know what it is. But I'm not saying, listen, I am grateful. I have been able to live my life. You understand? I'm okay. I'm good. I mean, I'm grateful as heck. But if what I wanted was to make $1 billion, I would have picked something much easier. This is spiritual hardball. Okay. Anyway, and I say that. So anyway, in the meantime, then you will love this. Do you know I made 24 trips to China in 4 years? And these are not weekend events. These are like 3-week. So at the end, because I'm myself, I can't say no. So I'm like, and oh my God, I'm just beat. I'm just tired as heck. And there's no books and there's nothing, right? Because it's really China and whatever. And I get on my knees and I make the prayer again. Dear God, if you are even there, if anyone's out there.
The side note is, why were you going to China?
To teach Akashic Records.
Oh, of course. I got lost.
You got lost. I was lost. But see, here's what happened. I mean, I went all over the United States. Whatever. I did all that stuff. It was great. I loved it. The next step is, though, I get a call from somebody in China. Can you come and teach people? I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. That's my business plan. People say, well, what's your business plan? My business plan is I go where I'm invited. Because if I'm invited, that means I'm wanted. And if I'm wanted, they can hear me. And if they can hear me, game on. Okay. And if I'm not wanted, I can make all the business plans I want. But who the heck? This isn't about, what does Linda want? I want to go to Cancun or I don't know where. I don't even want to go there. I'll tell you what, I've been to a lot of places that I thought I wanted to go to. I hated. But anyway, but here's what happens. So the next thing you know, that was my last trip to China. The pandemic hits. I was never so grateful for anything in my life. I was like, oh, thank you so much. I love a good pandemic. Anyway, I do because it changed everything. And I wrote another book, right? I did a book called Inspired Manifesting. But that book is it's been reimagined is the word now, right? It's a great word. And I have these wonderful people helping me. Anyway, so the book is out actually today, and it's called Akashic Manifesting. because what it is what I noticed. Everybody, manifesting is very hip, as you know, and everybody wants to manifest. I don't know what they want to sit in their apartment and have envelopes come through the door with money in them. It's the thing is, you got to look what does the world need, and what do I want to give, and what am I willing to do? Because I got to tell you, the only reason I've done the records is because it gets me out of bed in the morning. It's the only thing. You could say, Linda, come on, let's go work at McDonald's. I'm like, who cares? I don't care. You say, there's somebody here that needs help. I'm up. I'm dressed. I'm out the door. It is, why is this? Who knows? Who cares? It doesn't matter. This is what it is this time. So now I have, so anyway, I wrote this other book after that. My next book, this is fabulous. It's The Heart of the Akashic Records Revealed. And what it is, it's this entire, because, hindsight's perfect. I love it. So what I recognize is that I have been given an entire curriculum for personal transformation. Who knew? I didn't plan this. You can't plan this, especially if you're from Chicago. You don't plan these. You plan that you're going to go into advertising. I don't know what you plan. You don't plan this. Anyway, this book it's got everything in it. It is so good. But the new book, Akashic Manifesting, has really the latest, because of course, every time I think I'm done, this is so funny. You'll love it. I'm like, I'm done with this. Screw it. I'm going to go. I don't know what I'm going to do. It's like I'm on this grid of light. Just when I'm pretty convinced that it's exhausted, there's a tilt. And before me is a completely unexplored terrain. And it says, come on, let's check this out. I mean, I'm telling you now, I get goosebumps. Because see, when I first went to that class with the Holy Woman, I thought to myself, here was my deal. I said, you know what? This is fabulous. I don't understand it. I don't know what it is. I know everyone around me is getting shopping lists and to-do lists. What I'm getting is, oh, isn't this safe? This is a place you can tell the truth to yourself. We always start with, right? I mean, I was unhinged. Okay. I don't know what I'm telling you. Aha. Here was the thing. I knew the deal I made with myself was this. This is the coolest thing. This is the closest to that moment when I was 24. And I'll do it till it dries up. I thought, like everything else, I mean, I'll give it a couple of years. I'll exhaust this bad boy and move on. Every time I think I'm done,
pull you back in.
That's right. We've only just begun. I mean, I cannot tell you. And this is, so here's the thing. It's so funny. The things like, when I first came into this, I thought I knew what it meant to be an infinite, that I was on an infinite quest. I thought, oh, yeah, I get that. I had no idea what I was. I mean, I thought infinite was, I didn't know what it was. I thought it was forever. What's forever? Who knew? Today, I'm like, oh, wait a second here, folks. This is the beginning. So the other thing is this, is I think like in terms of great distinctions, one of the great distinctions here is that in this work, what's critical, it's essential that I be able to teach you and others so that you can recreate or generate for yourself, come into a more conscious connection with your own soul, with this energetic connective tissue, the soul to the source. This is the space in between. That's the record. The record, we don't pray to the record. in Asia, everybody's praying to the record. I mean, they'll pray to anything. I'm like, what do you pray? Like, stop. This isn't a religion. It's not a religion. Thank God, I couldn't keep up and I looked terrible in orange. And anyway, conscious, responsible, and deliberate. When I go into my records, I'm the boss. There's no like weird stuff happening. And if I don't understand something, you know what I do? I ask more questions. Questions, the Tibetan Dwal Kul used to say, inquire the way. I just like, oh my God, I think of it, it gives me goosebumps, right? Because it really is what's important to me as a person. Who cares about the records? What's funny is people say, well, do you have to know about the records to have a reading? No. You have to be a person having an experience that doesn't make sense to you. That's like everybody I know. Everybody I know is like, what the heck? But that's all that's needed. The records don't say, oh, you have to, I'm so important. This is not that. It's very Aquarian, which I got to tell you, good news, bad news. When things are Aquarian, you have a collective, in the records we call it masters, teachers, and loved ones. These guys all work together. They relinquish their individual identity and go from there. It's unbelievable. As opposed to like spirit guides. Now listen, I love a good spirit guide. I've got some. I love them. They're fun. And they have taken me into the record. They can't stay. They don't belong there because they're about what they do and their implements and this and that. And it's like, no, I'm sorry. It doesn't work that way. So anyway, and I could talk forever because this is like.
Well, it's really interesting because I could literally draw out a very deep line with all the practices that I teach people that are absolutely parallel to everything you've just
spoken. Right. There's a harmony here.
I mean, there's an absolute harmony, and it's the understanding, and it's all experiential validation of what it is that you're doing. And so for example, just within a Taoist practice, and we're talking about this energy center, we call them dantians, the energy field.
Yes.
Energy field.
Yes.
There's a practice that I teach people. It's called the death of a star, raising of the red phoenix, and you open up the black hole energy, which is abundant, timeless, endless, limitless, infinite. Yes. And that is what scientists would call the 0 point, or moreover, what we refer to as you enter that. There's the death of duality, electromagnetic, and the expansion of this resonance that is all things. And so that understanding brings forth all things, the mother of all things, which is the Tao. And I didn't stutter when I said that. And so within Taoism, the big hidden secret is, did I just say the mother of all things? Yes, I was very clear on that. I wasn't insinuating something else. And people are like, that wouldn't, are you telling me the Tao's a feminine energy? I'm like, oh, you're just picking up what I'm putting down.
Noticed. Yeah.
You just understood the power of what we speak of. And so I had a student that actually has, is a PhD, does scientific research. And for years, I've been teaching him these very applications, and they resonate with him through his experience, healing, manifestation, all that kind of stuff. But he had a project of researching what was in the nucleus of a cell. And he comes back to me and goes, Shifu, I cannot believe what I've discovered. I'm like, please tell me.
Right.
It's what I found in the nucleus of a cell. I said, what? Black hole energy.
That's right.
So I'm like, oh, how interesting. How is it that we didn't have this new language called quantum physics or physics per se, 10, 20, 30, 50? I mean, I can dispute how long the actual relationship we've had within Taoism for tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years. And this is where people go, yeah, you're full of it. There's only a record of 6,000 BC of Pictory and oracle bone reading. I'm like, I'm sorry, that's not that's that. I'm going to just fundamentally straight out say no. And when I mention this stuff, you resonates with you in the transmission. There is a
Yes.
fundamental transmission of the validation of the information.
Yes.
And so all bets are off, but it was just another aha moment of going, oh, this is not just my experience. This is fundamentally validated. And I guess now, because science has
Yes.
said so, that it must be real. And it's like, we've known this forever.
This is old news.
spiritual
This is old news. And human beings, we love evidence.
Yeah, yeah.
We love it.
And so
evidence doesn't care what you do with it.
and this is where you're just sharing all this stuff. And I always remind people, it's like, you've been given a personality. It's like many things,
Yes.
you're not supposed to erase it. The idea that your virtue signal with the sacrifice of yourself and your material goods is a fat out lie to yourself, and a delusional state that you're going in another direction. You don't put a round peg in a square hole. You use your personality as the expression of who you are in this lifetime. And then when you're accessing what we speak of, you just put your personality aside and you are there with the information. You are not anything. This is information.
You are the space through
This
which
is it. There's no place, person, or thing.
Right.
And this is how you acquire this very resource, this essence, this truth. And it's undeniable. And it comes in so many different forms, depending upon your sensory perception. It can come in all different forms. You can acquire clairsense, mediumship, channeling, healing, however you want to define it. It really, the limit of what you can access from this thing is your imagination. And so a lot of people are like, whoa. And I'm like, I like to do drive-by, what I call drive-by psychic readings, i.e. aura readings. Yes. And so I'll be on the street and someone, I'll just, the information's there, just as you just see it, it's right in front of you. And so it's like, okay. And I'll be like, would you like me to give you an aura reading? And they're like, oh, sure, magic man, give me an aura reading. That'd be very cool. I'm like, cool. Okay. And so within Taoism, we just look at the 5 elements, which are the 5 vital organs. Then we go through the energy centers, and each one will reveal the emotion and virtue. This is how we acquire the information. And the reason it's instantaneous for me is I don't have any emotional attachment to it. I'm not giving you this information with the idea that you're going to tell me I'm Grand Poupar of the highest ascension of awareness. Right. Creates this material. My validation doesn't even exist. Honestly, I'll be honest, I couldn't care less. I'm just sharing the information, and then all of a sudden it's accessible. Just as you said before, it's like I was just reading off this script. My very first experience within healing was distance healing over 30 years ago. And I read a script. I read a script from my training as a priest. And I'm like, this is the point of access. And I had no other validation other than this is what they say it is. So what am I supposed to do?
What do I do? Yeah. Yeah.
And so that very experience turned into an instant distant healing with a friend of mine that called me on the phone and said, hey, listen, I got a sprained ankle. I'm not going to be able to see you today. And back in those days, there's rotary phones. You know what they are? I don't know. My kids wouldn't even know what they are. And in any case, you get this phone call and I'm like, you know what? Okay, no worries. So I'll catch up with you next week. And then I was like, hang on a second. Let me try something. And she's like, what? And I'm like, I got to check this out. It's like, I just learned this today. I'm going through bullet point. And then there's this little thing. Don't mind me when I say this last thing with this what they call an incantation. So what the hell is an incantation? Just let me follow it in my mind. And then in the end, I'm going to speak this incantation and you tell me whether it does anything. All right. I'm like, wow, this is super cool. Read through it in my mind. And then I finish with an incantation. Heal, 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 heal. Literally, that's it. And expletives. I don't know whether you want to close your ears or you're into expletives or whatever, but the abbreviated version is WTF. And she screamed it through the phone. Like, what kind of witchery are you? Literally, what kind of witchery
are you doing?
I'm like, what are you talking about? Because I'm like, I don't have any baseline of validating it. She goes, my ankle was the size of a watermelon. And, the expectation of a normal human being is you sprain your ankle, you're going to be limping around for days, weeks, however long it heals.
However long it takes.
It shrunk before her very eyes, and she was standing on it. And I was like, I said, get out of here. You're so full of crap. You're full of crap.
Right. You couldn't believe it either.
I raced over to her house, right?
Of course.
Mother's sitting there. And this is almost like out of a Hollywood movie. Her mother's sitting there. Her idea of validation is she doesn't believe in doctors, she's a very affluent person, has a ton of money, but she doesn't believe in any of this stuff. It's like, if it's a white coat, I don't want to know about it. My remedy for my reality is a pack of cigarettes and a bottle of vodka every day. That works for me. That was her reality. And I'm like, okay. She's sitting there on her couch, distended stomach, puffing away. And her daughter's looking at me. Look at this. I took a photo before and after. I'm like, why would you do that? That was kind of weird. And I'm like, holy crap, this is real. And I'm like, this is really happening. And she's like, yeah. And the mother's like,
good heavens.
And then she goes, I always knew you were a healer. I'm like, what does that even mean? I didn't even know what that means. It literally went from that moment to, you need to check my foot out. I've got a problem. I'm like, dude, I didn't even know what the hell I'm talking about.
Right. I don't know what I'm doing. But
now the funny part was I had a really, by the time I got to see her foot, I went through in a transformation of channeling Lao-Tzu directly, which blew away the teacher that I had at the time that had been doing channeling for 60 years. And he literally had a nervous breakdown and went, how is it that you did it for one time and are accessing like direct source information instantaneously? And of course, we understand it has everything to do with past lives and who you are right now and all this kind of stuff. You know, as Tom Campbell would say, your entropy level, what is it, high or low? Right. In any case, it was the first time, boom, Lao-Tzu appears. And I turn out like a furnace burning fire. People are standing around me trying to enjoy the heat that's being from my physical body. And so I have this thing. Now he's in my head, right? He's
of
now
course,
talking.
He moved in.
He moved in.
Right? People are. I have another appointment, and they're coming in here.
Oh, right. Okay. Direct source information. Bottom line, I get to her house. I'm sitting down. I'm looking at her, and I'm like, "What do you want me to do?" She goes, "Check my foot out." She can't see it. She's a mess. And so I pulled her sock off, and she's got like a gangrenous foot.
Ooh.
And in my mind, I'm like, what do I do? Just take you to the hospital. This is like
right. That's what you do.
and guess what? Lao-Tzu goes, no. And I'm like, what? I'm having this dialogue. What the hell are you talking about? No, you're going to witness the healing. I'm like, really?
You're gonna do it.
What the hell are you talking about? In 40 minutes, I watched that tissue go from gangrenous back to pink.
Wow.
That was my first entree into the world of healing. And over the last 30 years, that's all I've experienced on a daily basis is watching flesh transform. And when you watch it, as you understand, it wiggles and it transforms before your very eyes, and it will happen instantaneously, just like anything else.
Right, because it's beliefs.
You know, you and I have a very similar path, my friend.
Yes, I know.
And
I have to tell you, it is so good to be with you.
I
feel like when I'm talking to you, I'm like you and I, the connection is fierce and the comprehension is unrivaled. And I really want to thank you for this.
I want to thank you.
I'm so grateful. And, you know, I could talk for days. I know there are so many things because, well, these are infinite issues and we are human beings on an eternal journey. Whether we like it or not. No, but it's true and it's good. But you know what? I have to go. I am so grateful for you.
We will let you go and we'll resume this at another time for another part. In closing, what's your definition of consciousness?
Consciousness, all that is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it doesn't get any easier than that. Some people literally their brains explode and I just can't answer that. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I could make that much more complicated and inaccessible.
It's not.
but there was another life.
Right, right,
Right?
right,
It went well, but this is now, and this is why we're here,
right.
right?
And with that, I will put all your social, all the
Okay,
information that
cool.
people where
Thank
people can
you.
find you, and just share with the audience what you're offering. You've got several books, you've got programs,
Oh,
modules,
I've got
things
books.
that
You
people
know what?
can
I'll tell you what's really cool. I think that this new book, this Akashic Manifesting, is really important
access.
because it also, in addition to this topic, like what is this manifesting business all about? And I believe it's because, anyway, that's a whole thing I could go into. But included in this book is work on self-parenting, trauma, and health. And these
Mhm.
are 21st century, these are challenges, in the 1990s, we never would have even talked about those things.
I've never laid past that. And people would ask me, what do you do? I'm a priest. I do exorcisms, house clearings, the whole thing. And people are like, whoa. But you and I have survived the killing of the witches and the burning of them over the last 30 years, that it's,
Right. But see, here's the thing. Collectively, we are moving from superstition to spirituality.
oh yeah.
We are moving from old ideas to truth. And that journey, I wish it was prettier than it is, but it can be messy at times, but that's all right. Anyway, I just love you. I thank you. I'll see you soon, and we will continue our
We
discussion.
will revisit this very soon.
Okay.
I love you. Thank the universe. Thank the audience. And I am your
Yeah.
humble servant and seafood Taoist Master Sun Qing. And I will see you in the next one, guys.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.